Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Sleepy. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Sila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kati Sadma Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kati Sadma Bandamur Savadana Mate Bandamur Savadana Mate Jara Prashade Bhai E Baba Turiya Jahan Jara Prashade Bhai E Baba Turiya Jahan Krishna Prapti Ho Jahan Hoite Krishna Prapti Ho Jaha Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Suriya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Sitete Koriya Anakuri homane Asha Anakuri homane Asha Sri Guru Charane Rathe Aise Utamagati Sri Guru Charane Rathe Aise Utamagati Elbow Je prashade pure sarva atsam Je prashade pure sarva asham Chakudana jillo jay, jamme jamme prabhu se. Chakudana jillo jay, jamme jamme prabhu se. Jivve ganari te prokashito. Jive ganari te prokashito. Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasayate. Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasayate. Vede gai jahara charita. Jai Prabhupada. Vede gai jahara charita. Se Guru Karuna Sindhu Vadama Janara Bandhu. Se Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokena Lokera Jivana Bravo Koro Doya Deho More Patachaya Bravo Koro Doya Deho More Patachaya Eveyat Gutsutribu Vana Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Haribo Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pachachadi Satarine Arvo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Trivatsari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Haro Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Gadadhara Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Haribo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Sila Prabhupada. Gaura Brahmana.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Avilasi. Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Avilasi. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Ye tomara sharanaloy taravancha purna hoy. Ye tomara sharanaloy taravancha purna hoy. Kripa kori korotare vrindavanavasi. Kripa kori korotare vrindavanavasi. Morei abilas vilas kunje dioba. Morei abilas vilas kunje dioba. Nayane rivosata yugala parasi. Nayane rivosata yugala parasi. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Namo Namo Hey Nivedanadaro Sakirannugata Koro. Hey Nivedanadaro Sakirannugata Koro. Sevadikara diye koro nijadasi. Sevadikara diye koro nijadasi. Inna Krishna dasse koi, eye namora hoy. Inna Krishna dasse koi, eye namora hoy. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yena Bahasi. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yena Bahasi. Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi. Namo Namo Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Tulsi Maharani ki jai.
keep it on Tulsi Devi, it'll work, but not on that table. Yeah, just a hint. All right. Hare Krishna. So one thing about the volume control here is the temple volume control is different than the volume control on the internet. So it's not that you have to blast everyone's eardrums out like yesterday in order to be on the internet. You just have to speak close to the microphone, and then you adjust separately the temple volume, because yesterday the volume was just really intense. I had a lot of complaints from people in the temple room. I had to wear earplugs. It was just too much. Anyway, so it's not that everyone in the temple room has to have their eardrums blasted out for it to work on the internet. So that the volume should be adjusted accordingly. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare. Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunjabi Hare. Gopi Nanamalaba Kiribaro Dhauti. Gopi Nanamalaba Kiribaro Dhauti. Yasunanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yasunanandana Brajajanaranjana. Jamuna Teravanachade. Jamuna Teravanachade. Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunjabi Hare. Jai Hurad Madhava Kunjabi Hare. Gopijana Malava Kiribadadati. Gopijana Malava Kiribadadati. Yasodananda Brajajanaranjana. Yasodananda Brajajanaranjana. Jamuna Tera Manachari. Yamuna Tera Manachari. Jai Radha Madhava Gunya Bihati. Jai Radha Madhava Gunya Bihati. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Parvacharya also Teta such a Shimad. His Divine Grace Abaya Jananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna, Gopi Gopinath Sayamakunda, Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Machuranam Ki Jai, Jagadada Sami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Budale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarni. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 41st chapter, text 38. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tashyanu Jivana Sarve Vasa Koshan Vifrishja Vai Dudruvu Sarvato Margang Vasangsi Jagrahe Achuta Tashanu Jivina Tashanu no Jivana Sarve Jivina Sar Vasakoshan Vrishijavai Dudruvu Sarvatomargam Vasamsi Jagrahe Chutaha Tashanu Jivana Sarve Vasakoshan Vrishijavai Dudruvu Sarvatomargam Vasamsi Jagrahe Chuta Tashanu Jivana Sarve Vasakoshan Vrishijavai Dudruvu Sarvatomargam Vasamsi Jagrahe Chuta. Okay. Jivana Sarve Okay. Tasha, his. Anujivanaha, employees. Sarve, all. Vasaha, of clothes. Koshan, the bundles. Vishritya, leaving behind. Vai, indeed. The Dhruvuhu, they fled. Sarvata, in all directions. Margam, down the road. Vasamsi, garments. Jagrehe, took. Achutaha, Lord Krishna. So, in translation, the washermen's assistants all dropped their bundles of clothes and fled down the road, scattering in all directions. Lord Krishna then took the clothes. You can repeat. The washermen's assistants all dropped their bundles of clothes and fled down the road, scattering in all directions. Lord Krishna then took the clothes. So the commentary, excuse me. There's no commentary by the servants of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, so we'll read Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary and Jiva Goswami's commentary, which is very short, and then we'll read the next verse. The followers of the watchman dropped the baskets of clothing. Vasakoshan and fled. Jiva Goswami says Vai means certainly. Another version has cha, indicating they left clothing and other items. The men and donkeys fled here and there, Sarvata on the road, or they fled in all directions on the road, or they fled everywhere, not on the road, amargam. They did not use the road and fled to other places, not the city. Krishna remained on the spot, achutaha. It means infallible, so Krishna just was determined. So, because that's just very descriptive, we're going to read the next verse and then comment on that. Text 39. Visidvatma prihe vastre Krishna sankarshanastata Sheshanyadata gopebhyo Vishvijya bruvi kanichit. Krishna and Balaram put on pairs of garments that especially pleased them, and then Krishna distributed the remaining clothes among the coward boys, leaving some scattered on the ground. And Jiva Goswami has a purport here. Krishna and Balaram dressed themselves in yellow and blue lower and upper cloths, dear to them, Atma Priye. Of course, Krishna always dressed generally in yellow, and Balaram dressed in blue. Why does Krishna dress in yellow? No one knows. Because actually, one reason is because whose color is yellow? Gold. Radharani. And blue, because blue for Balaram. Why? Krishna. Krishna's bluish. Dear Atma Priya, dear to them. They gave cloth to each of the other boys according to the desire of each, adata, or they took the extra cloth to give it out. The intention of the Lord was this. These splendid cloths have been given by Kamsa to glorify his family members of the great festival. To destroy his glory, I will make my family glorious. First, I will uproot his confidence. This is the key here. Actually, these clothes belong to Krishna, like the daughters of kings stolen by Narakasura. By the Leela Shakti, for creating sweetness in his pastimes, he obtained those cloths. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah, Gananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai, Shigurve Namaha. So, before commenting on this, I want to read a section from the Gopal Champu that describes this particular incident in greater detail. And this is from the Uttarakhanda, the Gopal Champu, chapter 4, beginning with text 16. When Krishna was standing there, eager and curious, a dyer arrived on the village path along with his associates, herding, listen to this, thousands of brain donkeys. So it wasn't just like one dyer there, with like a 2 or 3 or 4 other people. It was thousands of donkeys and assistants. Quite an entourage. Entourage of donkeys. When the dyer arrived, Krishna, who casually lifted Govardhan and destroyed the pride of demons, began to think. This proud rascal, this is going on in Krishna's mind, this proud rascal, surrounded by his friends, causing distress to all, had dyed many clothes for the festival and is bringing the cloth back to the city. I will take these auspicious clothes for myself for entering the city. Greeting him, I will make the dryer angry at my request. Krishna was stimulating. This is what we're going to talk about today, how Krishna stimulates emotions in people, and even emotions that are not so pleasant. I will then use force, and offending him, I will take all the cloth. So Krishna had the whole thing planned out in his mind before him. He then spoke out loud with a slight mocking tone. So Krishna was just, even the tone of his voice was to agitate this dryer. And this is the quotation from the verse. Please give us suitable garments to the two of us, who certainly deserve them. If you grant this charity, you will undoubtedly receive the greatest benefit. You remember that one. And the next verse. Though the dyer, his mind clouded by passion and ignorance, had heard of famous, generous Krishna's strength, he did not take notice. In other words, he already knew that Krishna was powerful. Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. And still, he was pre-warned by the whole thing, but his envy was so great, his anger was so great, that it covered up his memory. And that's the problem. Avritam Ganametena Yani no Nichavayana Kama Rupena Kontia Dushbrain Lenacha, isn't it? One's knowledge becomes covered. Avritam Yanametena Yani no Nichavayana, by one's eternal enemy. What is one's eternal enemy? Lust. And lust, of course, turns to what? Anger. Anger turns to what? Bewilderment of memory, right? And what happens after bewildered memory? Lose your knowledge. And then what happens after that? You're full of material. You are lost. So it all starts like the desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. And so this is his anger and lust. In addition to providing clothes for Kamsa, he was actually thinking of making money. This is explained by the previous acharyas, that a lot of the clothes were meant for selling. So it wasn't that it was just all like mountains, thousands of donkeys carrying Kamsa's clothes. He wanted to make a profit. So he wasn't that concerned with Kamsa. He was actually more concerned with the profit. He considered that he, by his own power, was taking the clothing to Kamsa's palace on the authority of Kamsa. Covered with ignorance, he did not see that Krishna was dressed in cloth given by Ananta, Varuna, and Indra. So in other words, Krishna already had this coward boy cloth, but his coward boy cloth was actually provided by, Anantashesh, Varuna, and Indra. It was very opulent. It wasn't something that was just like, generally you'd see coward boys or people in the village. I was just watching a video of one festival they had in India where they were firing fire at each other. Has anyone seen that festival? Anyway, they were celebrating a victory over the Muslim invasion. And they were all dressed in rags. It was a village. But he was dressed opulently still. Showing his demoniac nature, the dyer, not recognizing Krishna's greatness, mocked Krishna in agitation. And this is a similar thing. You impudent boys, you're accustomed to roaming the mountains and forests, and yet you would dare put on such clothes as these. These are the king's possessions you were asking for. Fools. Hmm. Get out of here quickly. This is the verse, of course. Don't beg like this if you want to stay alive. When someone is too bold, the king's men arrest him and kill him and take his property. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 35th, 36. Anyway. Krishna, using his arms as swords, here's more descriptions, immediately cut down the laughing, condemned dyer, filled with the mode of passion, who is like a lava bird. I don't know what a lava bird is. All the dyer's friends fled away. Their cloth lay on the ground before their eyes. They took all the cloth that was useful to them. Krishna began strolling through the city like a king of the jungle elephants, along with Balaram and his friends. He was the best among all those friends who were eternally beautiful. His cloth became more beautiful because of his personal beauty. In other words, Krishna beautifies his garments. It's not that the garments have the ability to beautify Krishna. Krishna laughed at his friends, said, as his friends said, take these thousands of pieces of clothing. He separated the clothes and put on what was suitable. He was understood to be the crest jewel of persons who act without fear. And the final verse from this is, actually, there's more. When Krishna played in this way, his friends laughed. Then one weaver with the best qualities made an outfit with ornaments and cloth suitable for sporting as the best wrestler. And here's Prabhupada's quote from the Krishna book. After this ghastly incident, the employees of the washerman immediately dispersed, leaving the clothing. Krishna and Balaram took possession of it, dressed according to their choice. The rest of the clothes were offered to the cowherd boys, who also used them as they desired. What they did not use remained there. So you can see Prabhupada's Krishna book is very much in line with the Bhagavatam verses. So here's what we're going to discuss. That Krishna is stimulating different, here he's stimulating different indirect rasas. And it's interesting, I was just thinking how interesting it is that all the indirect, excuse me, all the indirect rasas are being manifested here, isn't it? All right, let's go through Krishna. Let's go through all the indirect rasas. Our first one is what? Hasya. Hasya is what? Does anyone know? That's humor, comedy. So Krishna, is being very funny in what he's doing right here, and also very funny in putting on all the clothes of the washerman. Just making. Anyway, these things happen with this material body without any notice. And so the next one is what? Adbhuta. What does Adbhuta mean? Wonder or astonishment. How Krishna is killing this washerman or dyer, not washerman. He's killing him just like in an astonishing way. And all of the washer, or the dyer's associates are just like, oh my God, they're astonished. And it's also Bibhatsa is there too. What's Bibhatsa? What? Horror or ghastliness, right? It's ghastly. I mean, just think about it, to have someone's head ripped out of from their neck. There must be blood there too, right? Just like some of my friends who used to eat chickens. They described what it was like when you cut the head of the chicken off. It was like a water piss. I mean, like a super soaker. So it was just like extremely ghastly, right? Then there's Vira. What's Vira? Heroism. So Krishna is acting as a hero. He's without any fear, he just walks up to this dyer and and okay. Then there's karuna. What's karuna? Compassion or mercy. He's merciful to the dyer, and he's using his clothes to dress himself. So the dyer indirectly is engaging in Krishna service. So he gave him the greatest benediction. Of course, the dyer didn't go back to Godhead. And Rodra. Here the dyer is exhibiting anger, and Krishna is also exhibiting anger. And Bhaya. Finally, the last one is Bhaya, or fear. Who is fearful here? Yeah, the assistants and the donkeys. They were just running off in all directions. So I thought it was quite interesting that all the all the indirect rasas were actually being manifested here, practically simultaneously. And Krishna does this a lot, and I was thinking of other pastimes where Krishna stimulates the anger and emotions of even demons or people who are acting demoniacally to enjoy, his, chivalrous activities, or to enjoy, chivalrous activities. And let's take some quotes from the Bhagavatam that illustrate this. Here's the a quote from the third canto, 18th chapter, text 10, which is about Lord Varaha dealing with Hiranyaksha. How he insults Hiranyaksha just to get him angrier, just to stimulate his anger. Of course, let's go back to what's happening here before I talk about that. Here, Krishna is dressed with all the dyer's clothes, which are meant for the king and his associates, and that's to stimulate the anger of Kamsa. Just like it's in your face, buddy, isn't it? Can you imagine that? Like if someone was walking around with my clothes, like Mother Urmila mentioned yesterday, it would stimulate. That happened with Prabhupada one time. Prabhupada was in Africa, and the brahmacharis seen Prabhupada's clothes on the line. They dressed, Prabhupada went to the morning program, and he noticed the brahmacharis were dressed in his clothes. And obviously, he was disturbed. I mean, not super angry, but he was disturbed by that. That happens in Africa, actually. There's a lot of thievery there. So Kamsa, part of the idea of Krishna dressing with all these clothes is to just like really make Kamsa angry. And part of Krishna's pastime, later on we'll read about him breaking the bow, is to stimulate the fear in Kamsa. So Krishna is doing all these things to bring the emotional intensity in the exhibition of all these different indirect rasas to a peak. Not so it's just like, he goes into Kamsa and kills him with sorry. He kills him without any warning. He wants Kamsa to be good and angry, good and fearful. And so, anyway, so here's some more pastimes from the Bhagavatam where Krishna does this. Here, Krishna, in the form of Lord Varaha, is insulting Hiranyaksha. He said, "We are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you." So he's calling his opponent a dog. Just like an insult. Why is Krishna insulting someone? It's to make them angrier. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. And here's a quote from the sorry. So here's a quote from the story about the killing of Lord Nrsingadev, how Krishna made Hiranyakashipu angry, or not angry, scared by his laughter. Make it loud. Oh my God. Yeah, you better give me something. Ma- Making a loud, shrill sound of laughter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who was extremely strong and powerful, captured Hiranyakashipu, who was protecting himself with his sword and shield, leaving no gaps open. With the speed of a hawk, thank you, Hiranyakashipu moved sometimes in the sky and sometimes on the earth, his eyes closed because of fear of Nrsingadev's laughter. Okay. So I'm going to give more examples how Krishna and his devotees actually arranged things just to rile up the demons. Another example is when Duryodhana was visiting the palace constructed by Mayadanava and Indraprastha. What happened? Two things happened there that really agitated Duryodhana. Can anyone think of the two things? What? He fell in the water. He thought the water was land. Hmm. And he also walked into the doorway, which he thought was an opening, but it was completely transparent. But there was another thing that happened in addition. Draupadi left, but there's another thing that happened. What assignment did he have during the Rajasuya sacrifice? Everybody had an assignment. Krishna's assignment was what? Washing the feet. And Duryodhana's assignment was, do you remember? Collecting the donations that were meant for Yudhisthira Maharaj. And that's agitating. You know, he's seeing this opulence of the of the assembly house. He's seeing the opulence of the assembly house, and he's agitated like anything. These are my enemies, and they have more opulence than me. So many things Krishna did to really agitate people or Krishna's devotees. And there's a story in the Ramayana of that Lord Ram, instead of just killing Ravan, one time defeated Ravan. And what did he say to Ravan? In the Ramayana, go back home, you look tired. What? During the battle, yeah. It was a battle where one day he defeated Ravan, and Ravan was completely, he could have killed Ravan at that point. But he said, you're a little tired today. Go back home. So so Christian just agitates. He doesn't just like efficiently kill people. Efficiency is one thing. You just go in, in the middle of the night while someone's sleeping and just shoot them or something like that. Christian just wants to get these emotions to the highest peak. And so that's what he's doing with the clothes. Another thing is at the Rajasuya sacrifice, how Krishna arranged for Shishupal's anger to be stimulated when Krishna was appointed as the Agra Puja, the most important person to be worshipped. And Shishupal just was committing all these offenses because he's so agitated. Krishna wanted that to happen. And also Krishna does things to stimulate the anger of the gopis. I'm talking about the Vrindavan pastimes. I mean, Krishna says to Radharani sometimes that your face is like many moons, like a moon. What does that mean? How do you say that in Sanskrit? Chandravali. And she gets really angry. Another time he said, your face is like a moon, and she thinks, oh, my face has what? Spots on it. And then other times, I mean, it's really interesting how Krishna stimulates these indirect rasas. Another time, many times, he arranges for a rendezvous with Srimati Radharani or some other gopi, and he doesn't show up the whole night, or he comes at the end of the night. And can you imagine? I get upset when I have to wait for someone more than 5 or 10 minutes. But you can imagine the Srimati Radharani or Chandrabali waiting for like 12 hours or 8 hours until Krishna shows up. Where's that Krishna? He hasn't shown up yet. Um, Another thing he does, even with ostensibly with devotees like the demigods, Krishna stimulated the anger of Indra by taking the Parijata plant from the heavenly planets to give to Satyabhama. So I'm sure there's many other examples. I just had a few of them listed here. Oh yeah, Prahlad Maharaj stimulating the anger of Nrsingadev by telling Nrsingadev that when he was asked what is the best thing you learned at school, he said to his father, you should just like give everything up and go to the forest. So you see, this is the enjoyment in Krishna's life, to actually have strong emotions. And Krishna does that with us too, in many different ways. Prabhupada said an easy life and Krishna consciousness they're not compatible or don't go well together. So Krishna puts his devotees into difficulty so that they will remember him and have strong emotions. So Krishna consciousness means strong emotions. So anyway, that's all I want to talk about today. So any questions or comments about any of these points? Mother Urmila. Right. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Thoughts and feelings of things in this world. Yeah, yeah. Material attachment and aversion. Well, I would say if the emotions are in relationship with Krishna and they bring us closer to Krishna, those two standards. Uh, if the emotions bring us closer to Krishna, I mean, even fear, we can be fearful of things in this material world, but then it brings us closer to Krishna. Then it can be accepted. That we take shelter of Krishna, that we pray to Krishna for something. Akama sarva kama moksha kama dharati. Tivrena bhakti yogena jeta purusham param. Whether we're free of material desires. Of course, it can be considered sometimes it's a material desire to be free from fear of a fearful situation. For example, let's say I discover I have some disease and I'm afraid, oh my God, what's going to happen? So, in one sense, that's material fear, isn't it? So, but if I take shelter of Krishna, Krishna save me, then I'm actually dovetailing that material fear, even though, I'm not in complete Krishna consciousness, to connect myself with Krishna and surrender to Krishna. I think that can be accepted. Does that make sense? Yeah. Hmm. Phew. You're more advanced than me. When I feel I just know when I was experiencing extreme pain from the kidney stone that there was no question of my thinking of any Leela. It was, I mean, you may have a clearer mind than me. I was just thinking, Krishna help, Krishna help, Krishna help, Krishna help. That's all my little consciousness could accommodate at that particular juncture. I mean, if the pain wasn't so intense, I don't know. I couldn't think of good gender at that point. No, it's not. Wasn't transcendental. It's Krishna help. Krishna save me. Krishna, is it the because the pain was too intense to actually think of anything else. But anyway, everybody's different. So anyone else have a question, comment? Thank you for the cough drop. I feel better already. I think I'll be able to lead kirtan. No other questions or comments? Yes. Hmm. Yeah, we connected with Krishna. So in that way, there's basically nothing material when we dovetail things. We have a desire to eat. I mean, probably gives that example. So we take prasadam. You want tasty food, so you make tasty foods for the deities. So you can. I mean, obviously, that shouldn't be the motivation. That's fine. Then you pray to Krishna for intelligence. There's a way where you can try to fix your material problems, but also connect to Krishna. Krishna, please give me the intelligence in how to do this. So I think my understanding is everything could be connected to Krishna, and Krishna puts his devotees in difficulty, like pain or whatever. So we do remember Krishna. And of course, you have Queen Kunti praying, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru, Apuna Bhavadarchanam. Please bring these difficulties again and again so we'll always be connected with you, so I won't have repeated birth and death in this world. So we want those strong emotions. I mean, pain is another thing, but isn't it? I mean, this is Krishna consciousness is strong emotions. Like my God brother, your Govinda Maharaj said he was opening up a crying temple. So there should be strong emotions in relationship with Krishna. And even if we're not completely pure, we can dovetail using this akama sarvakama amoksha kama dharadi tivrena bhakti yogeni jeta purusham param. When I was a new devotee, I would dovetail this because I wanted to just go back to Godhead and leave this miserable material world. I would pray to Krishna every night to kill me. I tell the story. I would go to sleep at night and I would pray, Krishna, please make sure I don't wake up the next morning. I just take me back to Godhead because I wanted liberation. And it got me chanting. All night long I was chanting. So somehow or other get absorbed in Krishna's holy names.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanbanda Maravindalaya Bhavatam Samasitam Purasundara Nandar Pakom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adipurusha Tamaham Bhajami Argani Asasa Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Vikayanti Niragatari Ananda Chimaya Sadhu Dara Vikrasya Govinda Adipurusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adipurusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adipurusha Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adipurusha Tamaham
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samaniti Namane Samaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacha Devi Sunyade Vasachade Chare Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Punijana Sri Advaita Gachara Shiva Sade Gaurakrindana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Dvaita Gajada Shiva Sade Gaurakrindana The Advaita Gatada Siva Sadi Golbakanda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gatada Siva Sadi Golbakanda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Bhati Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Bhati Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana, Kenana no kenana rade. Jaya Rade, Jaya Rade, Rade Rade. Rade, 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 Rade. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupada.
Jai. Jai.
Cetodarpanamarjanam Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandamudi Vardhanam Pratibanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Namyata Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktira Hoitaki Twai Aina Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishameva Mam Buddha Kripayata Vapada Pankajas Dita Duli Sadrishim Vachintaya Nayanam Galadrushudaraya Varanam Gadgadaridaya Gira Yulakar Nishidam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yuga Yatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishavapadaratam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatava Vindato Lampato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon, life of all transcendental knowledge, the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will a voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally.